Every afternoon as they were coming from school, the children used to go and play in the giant's garden.
Giant. A person who has great size or strength. A giant has to wear really big clothes.
It was a large, lovely garden with soft green grass. Here and there over the grass stood beautiful flowers like stars. There were 12 peach trees that in the springtime broke out into delicate blossoms of pink and pearl, and in the autumn bore rich fruit.
Broke. Appeared or started suddenly. The spring flowers broke through the snow. Delicate. Very fine and fragile, easily damaged. A delicate teacup might be handled with care so that it does not get broken.
Pearl. A soft white color with a silvery shine. The children found a beautiful shell, the color of pearl.
The birds sat on the trees and sang so sweetly that the children used to stop their games in order to listen to them.
Let's play hide and seek again.
Sweetly. Pleasing to hear, taste, or smell. The children listened as their mother talked sweetly to the baby.
One day, the giant came back. He had been to visit his friend, the Cornish ogre, and had stayed with him for 7 years. After the 7 years were over, he had said all that he had to say, for his conversation was limited, and he determined to return to his own castle.
Gravel,
Stock market,
shoe sizes,
soccer,
artichoke,
college, eggplant, spring flowers,
cut grass.
Going home.
Cornish. From the area of Cornwall, a county in England in the British Isles. The Cornish people live in the southwest portion of England.
Ogre. A very mean giant. You would be afraid if you met an ogre, especially if he was in a bad mood.
Over. Past and gone. When the summer was over, the children had to go back to school.
Conversation. Talk between people. When families get together, they like to have a conversation about things that interest them. Limited. Not able to go very far. The area the dog could run in was limited because he was tied to a tree.
determined, made a strong decision. The boy determined to earn the money for a new bicycle by himself.
When he arrived, he saw the children playing in his garden.
My own garden is my own garden. Anyone can understand that. And I will allow nobody to play in it but myself.
So he built a high wall all round it and put up a notice board.
Trespassers will be prosecuted.
He was a very selfish giant.
Notice board. A big sign. There was a notice board at school with news about a sports day for everyone on Thursday. Trespassers. People who go on someone else's property without permission. The trespassers on the farmer's land didn't close the gate, so his cows got out of their pasture. Prosecuted. Taken to court. People who break the law will be prosecuted. Selfish. Wanting everything for yourself. The selfish children never shared their toys, and so no one wanted to play with them. Giant.
The poor children had now nowhere to play. They tried to play on the road, but the road was very dusty and full of hard stones, and they did not like it. They used to wander round the high wall when their lessons were over and talk about the beautiful garden inside.
Wandering. Walking about with no special place to go. The children found the dog wandering along the road, so they took him back to his home.
Then the spring came, and all over the country there were little blossoms and little birds. Only in the garden of the selfish giant it was still winter. The birds did not care to sing in it, as there were no children, and the trees forgot to blossom. Once a beautiful flower put its head out from the grass, but when it saw the notice board, it was so sorry for the children that it slipped back into the ground again and went back to sleep.
Sorry. Feeling sad about what was done. The children were sorry that they had broken the fence, and they worked hard to pay for the repairs.
Spring has forgotten this garden.
So we will live here all the year round.
The only people who were pleased were the snow and the frost. The snow covered up the grass with her great white cloak, and the frost painted all the trees silver.
Cloak. A loose-fitting outer garment, a large coat with no sleeves. The boy wore a cloak to cover and hide all the parcels he was carrying.
Then they invited the north wind to stay with them, and he came. He was wrapped in furs, and he roared all day about the garden, and he blew the chimney pots down.
Invited. Asked to come. It's nice to be invited to a birthday party when your best friend turns a year older.
Wrapped. Covered. People give gifts wrapped in pretty paper.
Roaring. Made a loud noise like a lion. You can hear the race car engine roaring during the whole race. Chimney pots. Clay tubes at the top of chimneys. A chimney sweep has to climb onto the roof to clean the chimney pots.
So the hail came. Every day for 3 hours he rattled on the roof of the castle till he broke most of the slates. Then he ran round and round the garden as fast as he could go, He was dressed in gray, and his breath was like ice.
Hail. Small chunks of ice. During a hailstorm, you can see small round pieces of ice hitting the ground. Rattled. Made many short, sharp noises. The girl put small stones into a coffee can, and when she shook it, it rattled. Slates. Thin pieces of stone that are used on a roof. Broken slates on a roof won't keep the rain out, so they should be repaired right away. Ice. Frozen water. You can make your soda pop colder by putting ice cubes in it.
I cannot understand why spring is so late in coming.
He sat at the window and looked out at his cold, white garden.
Brrr, I'm cold. I hope there will be a change in the weather.
But the spring never came, nor the summer. The autumn gave golden fruit to every garden, but to the giant's garden she gave none. So it was always winter there, and the north wind and the hail and the frost and the snow danced about through the trees. One morning, the giant was lying awake in bed when he heard some lovely music. It sounded so sweet to his ears that he thought it must be the king's musicians passing by. It was only a little linnet singing outside his window, but it was so long since he had heard a bird sing in his garden that it seemed to him to be the most beautiful music in the world.
Linnet, a small brown bird. A linnet is a different kind of bird than a robin or a sparrow.
Then the hail stopped dancing over his head, and the north wind ceased roaring, and a delicious perfume came to him through the open casement.
Ceased. Stopped. He ceased crying, for now he was happy.
Delicious. Having a very good taste or smell. You would find many delicious foods such as roast corn, hamburgers, and steaks at a barbecue.
Perfume. A beautiful smell, such as the smell of a flower. There was a beautiful perfume in the air in the tropical garden.
Casement. A type of window that opens outward on a hinge. Old-style houses sometimes have casement windows made of stained glass.
And he jumped out of bed and looked out. What did he see? He saw a most wonderful sight. Through a little hole in the wall, the children had crept in, and they were sitting in the branches of the trees. In every tree that he could see, there was a little child. And the trees were so glad to have the children back again that they had covered themselves with blossoms, and they were waving their arms gently above the children's heads. The birds were flying about and twittering with delight, and the flowers were looking up through the green grass and laughing.
gently, softly, with great care. The boy picked up the kitten very gently and put it back in the basket. Twittering, making short, chirping sounds. On sunny mornings, you might hear birds twittering in the trees outside your window. Delight, a feeling of gladness. The children clapped their hands with delight at the circus.
It was a lovely scene. Only in one corner, it was still winter. It was the farthest corner of the garden.
Scene, a view of a place. Postcards often have lovely scenes on them.
And in it was standing a little boy. He was so small that he could not reach up to the branches of the tree, and he was wandering all round it, crying bitterly. The poor tree was still quite covered with frost and snow, and the north wind was roaring above it. "Climb up, little boy," said the tree, and it bent its branches down as low as it could. But the boy was too tiny.
Bitterly, with great sadness and regret, the boy complained bitterly when he couldn't go to the birthday party.
And the giant's heart melted as he looked out.
How selfish I have been. Now I know why the spring would not come here. I will put that poor little boy on the top of the tree, and then I will knock down the wall, and my garden shall be the children's playground forever and ever.
He was really very sorry for what he had done.
Melted, softened, warmed. In this case, it means that the giant's anger disappeared and changed to gentleness.
So he crept downstairs and opened the front door quite softly and went out into the garden. But when the children saw him, they were so frightened that they all ran away, and the garden became winter again.
Frightened, afraid, or scared. After watching a monster movie, you might be frightened when the lights go out.
Only the little boy did not run, for his eyes were so full of tears that he did not see the giant coming. And the giant stole up behind him and took him gently in his hand.
Stole. Walked very quietly. The boy stole into the kitchen behind his mother and yelled, "Surprise!"
And put him up into the tree. And the tree broke at once into blossom, and the birds came and sang on it. And the little boy stretched out his 2 arms and flung them around the giant's neck and kissed him.
Flung. Threw with energy. The girl flung the ball so hard that no one could hit it.
And the other children, when they saw that the giant was not wicked any longer, came running back, and with them came the spring.
It is your garden now, little children.
Wicked. Very bad and evil. In The Wizard of Oz, there was a wicked witch who was mean to Dorothy.
And he took his great axe and knocked down the wall.
Axe. A sharp tool for cutting down trees. The lumberjack swung his great axe and started to chop down the tree.
And when the people were going to market at 12 o'clock, they found the giant playing with the children in the most beautiful garden they had ever seen.
Market. A place where people buy and sell food. It's fun to go to a farmer's market and see all the fruits and vegetables that are for sale.
All day long they played, and in the evening when they came to bid the giant goodbye, he asked,
But where is your little companion, the boy I put into the tree?
The giant loved him the best because he had kissed him.
Bid. Told or asked to do something. Your mother might bid you to clean up your room.
Companion. someone you enjoy being with. It is nice to have a companion to talk to on a long walk.
You must tell him to be sure and come here tomorrow.
But the children said that they did not know where he lived, and had never seen him before, and the giant felt very sad. Every afternoon, when school was over, the children came and played with the giant. The giant was very kind to all the children, yet he longed for his little friend, and often spoke of him. But the little boy whom the giant loved was never seen again.
Longed. Wanted very much. The children longed for a puppy, but their mother said they couldn't have one.
Years went over, and the giant grew very old and feeble.
Feeble. Weak. The old dog was so feeble he couldn't chase a ball anymore.
He could not play about anymore, so he sat in a huge armchair and watched the children play at their games and admired his garden.
Admired. Had a feeling of wonder and delight. The little girl admired the beautiful drawing she had made.
Whee! Whee!
I have many beautiful flowers, but the children are the most beautiful flowers of all.
One winter, he looked out of his window as he was dressing. He did not hate the winter now, for he knew that it was merely the spring asleep, and that the flowers were resting.
Merely. Only. The children knew that when the magician pulled rabbits from his hat, it was merely a trick.
I hope spring has a good rest to make summer more beautiful for the children.
Suddenly, he rubbed his eyes in wonder and looked and looked.
Suddenly, all at once. Suddenly, it started raining, and everyone at the picnic ran to the car.
Wonder. A feeling of surprise caused by something unusual. Everyone looked at the sky in wonder when it began to snow in the middle of the summer.
It certainly was a marvelous sight. In the farthest corner of the garden was a tree quite covered with lovely white blossoms. Its branches were all golden, and silver fruit hung down from them, and underneath it stood the little boy he had loved.
Marvelous. Something unusually wonderful or beautiful. The sky at sunset is a marvelous sight. Sight. Something worth seeing. The shaggy dog all covered with mud was a sight to see.
Underneath, below. You might stand underneath an umbrella or a porch to keep dry in a rainstorm.
Downstairs ran the giant in a great joy, and out into the garden. He hastened across the grass and came near to the child.
Joy. Great happiness. If you get a new pet, you would be full of joy.
Hastened, hurried, went quickly. The children hastened out of their classroom because it was the last day of school.
I have missed you so much.
I came back because of your love.
Said the child, and a great light shone all around him.
Who are you?
Said the giant. And a strange awe fell on him, and he knelt before the little child.
Strange. Unusual. The platypus is a strange animal because it has fur like a beaver and a mouth shaped like a duck's. Awe. Great wonder and respect. A feeling of awe came over the children when they saw the magician's best trick.
Knelt, bent down with knees on the ground. The children knelt down in the grass so they could see the beetles better.
And the child smiled on the giant and said to him,
You let me play in your garden long ago. Today you may come to my garden, which is in paradise.
Ago. In the past, many years ago, people didn't have cars to drive.
Paradise. A beautiful place where everyone is happy.
And the giant lay down under his favorite tree and fell asleep, and dreamed of paradise.